a belle who enrolled in 1929. He was sort of a know-it-all. If so, it was false bravado, the same insecurity that led to Beatty's occasional use of alcohol, partly to mask his disappointment over abandoning his dream to be a concert violinist. By his second year, Warren Beatty's father had won over his female students. All the girls were in love with him, declared Winifred Wokel Morrison, who took both psychology and education from Beatty. He was a very good teacher, actually. Her impression of Ira Beatty was as a dyed-in-the-wool man of the South. Even though it was a small school, no one at the Maryland College for Women seemed to know when, during their 3 years as unmarried professors, the extremely proper Miss MacLaine and Mr. Beatty began their romance. In a letter, Kathleen MacLaine once described her future mate pointedly as teaching part-time while taking his Ph.D. at Johns Hopkins University. Tat was the daughter of a progressive physician and mayor and clearly placed importance on Ira Beatty's receiving his doctorate. Ira Beatty later told their daughter Shirley that if he could not be a violinist, he wanted to contribute to the betterment of the human race and saw education as the way. Ira Beatty's romantic humanitarianism appealed to the poet in Kathleen MacLaine and would reproduce powerfully in the ideals of their son, Warren. During the summers, Tat performed with a local repertory company, and Ira participated, using the college gymnasium for their shows. The Beatty's vaudeville period, the couple referred to it later. After their third year teaching at Maryland College, Warren Beatty's parents were married on August 31st, 1931, despite his mother's feelings of foreboding. In January, Ira Beatty's application for his doctorate was accepted, with the expectation he would take his oral examination in the spring and launch his married life with Tat as a doctor of philosophy. Instead, Beatty's thesis was rejected, and he was denied his Ph.D. by Johns Hopkins. Ira blamed his female advisor, even though a different academic determined that he had insufficiently researched the topic. Beatty's already frail ego was permanently affected, and the Ph.D. that eluded him became a symbol of the impotence that dominated the atmosphere in the house where Warren Beatty grew up. Act 1. The Good Son. Instead of beginning the summer of 1932 as Dr. and Mrs. Beatty, Ira and Tat left Lutherville for the small burg of Waverly, Virginia, where Ira accepted a job as school principal. It was there that Shirley MacLaine would be born and Warren Beatty conceived. Kathleen Beatty later ascribed their move to Waverly as a decision made necessary by the Depression, but in truth, Ira Beatty had lost his confidence, resigning himself to a life of caution. The little episode at Johns Hopkins probably blunted his opportunities to achieve what he was otherwise capable of, analyzed a friend of 30 years. The Beattys may have considered their stature diminished by Ira's position as principal of the Waverly School and Kathleen's role as his muse, but they left an indelible imprint on the community and on the students they taught, who exalted them. Hannah Allen, the teacher most admired in Waverly, considered Ira Beatty an excellent educator, and indeed he blossomed in the esteem of the community. Elizabeth West, who was a popular ingenue when Beatty became principal, found him very dapper, in a shirt and tie every day, with trousers fashionably creased. West's experience foreshadowed Ira Beatty as a father, when she, whom Beatty considered a talented pianist, paid more attention to her teenage boyfriends than to practicing before a concert. He let me know, in no uncertain terms, that he was very disappointed in me, and thought I was wasting a gift, a talent, and he shamed me. West was shaken by Beatty's harsh response, but I must admit, I did go on and major in music in college. He apparently had more appreciation of what I was about than I did. Kathleen Beatty, though more reserved than her husband, was dynamic in her influence at Waverly. She made an enormous impression on my young mind, said Elizabeth West, West gaped as Kathleen swept into the school auditorium on cold days, her tall, lithe frame elegantly wrapped in a long raccoon coat. Her enunciation, her whole manner was grace. I, even at that age, could appreciate anybody who could come in and pull talent out of a country high school. Warren Beatty's mother staged a full-scale musical at Waverly School. One former student was moved to tears by Tat's staging of the song Blue Moon, performed by a young girl alone on the stage beside a blue velvet curtain in a dress that was a contrasting, exquisite shade of blue. The Beatty's second autumn in Waverly, Kathleen became pregnant soon after her 30th birthday. Shirley MacLaine said later that her father had an eighth sense about women and knew when Tat had conceived before she did, demonstrating a mystic sensitivity to women's cycles that Warren Beatty reportedly inherited and put to different use. In February of 1934, when Tat was 7 months pregnant, Ira Beatty focused on a new, smaller career dream. He wrote to the registrar at Johns Hopkins, stating that he hoped to get his name on the approved list of school superintendents in Virginia. The registrar agreed not to reveal that Beatty's dissertation had been rejected, and informed him that he could present himself for his final oral examination for his Ph.D. at any time. Despite this favor, Ira Beatty was bypassed for a superintendent's position, a cringing disappointment that coincided with the birth of his daughter, Shirley, on April 24, 1934. Shirley MacLaine Beatty was remembered in Waverly as a robust toddler with kind of chestnut-colored hair and a lot of it for a little girl. A snapshot exists of this interlude in the Beatty's lives before Warren came along. It was taken during a faculty outing in the summer of 1935. The photograph shows the small Waverly faculty gathered on a lawn with Ira Beatty front and center, dressed in a tie even on a holiday. He wears a smile that appears strained and is holding little Shirley up for the camera in a way that is at once tender and that seems to announce prophetically that she, not he, is the future star. Kathleen Beatty stands at the rear of the group, her willowy frame leaning forward, head slightly bowed, as she peers up at the camera, her intelligent eyes squinting in the sun with a quizzical expression, exactly like Warren's in countless movie stills to come. By the end of the next summer, Warren had been conceived, and the Beattys would be gone from Waverly. That summer, 1936, Ira Beatty's diminished aspirations were to be hired as a principal in the city of Richmond. He came frustratingly close in the fall, being hired as the principal at a school in West Hampton, an enclave of Richmond designated as outside the city limits, a metaphor for all the yearnings beyond his reach. Henry Warren Beatty was born the following March 30th, 1937, in Richmond, the city of patriot dreams that would be his home for the first 8 years of his life and that would define him forever as a Southern gentleman. The Beattys lived in a modest frame house in a middle-class neighborhood on the corner of Park and Granite, a block from the school where Ira was principal. Tat and Ira's closest friends were the assistant principal and his wife. Warren's first great love was his mother, Kathleen, an all-consuming and mutual adoration that established a pattern for the sweeping romantic affairs that would become part of the Warren Beatty mystique. Tat's complete enchantment with her son may have begun with his physical resemblance to her dashing actor brother, Mansell MacLaine. As a baby, Warren had the dark curls and Cupid's face of Pooty, painted by European artists of the Renaissance. Whatever the cause, Warren had an effect on his mother, as Beatty later acknowledged. He admitted to writer Norman Mailer once, "Yes, my mother adored me." His sister Shirley, who turned 3 a few weeks after Warren was born, felt displaced in Kathleen Beatty's affections. She later told the London Times that her mother made it clear that Warren was the favorite, an attitude MacLaine attributed to an intrinsic belief on Kathleen's part